Good evening, one and all. Happy hump day. Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. Mr. Logical will be here shortly, but for now, you're stuck with me, your unorthodox statistician, going left so much you thought I was Southpaw. Deontay Wilder could learn a thing or two about that. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight. Sports Reports is ordered. Like, review, subscribe, do all the good things, do all of the free things. And let's get this thing started. So, of course, it wouldn't be Sports Reports is ordered if we wasn't starting it off with Get It Off My Chest. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. He was having technical difficulties, but we got the Texas-born, VA-raised, representing New Jerusalem. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Come correct, Mr. Logical. So, get it off my chest. I was sitting up here today going through the Twitters or the X's or whatever you call them nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting a little older, so I'm getting out of touch with a lot of these things. But as I was scrolling through, I saw something that made me very distraught. And I knew it was a possibility already, but it didn't make it hurt any less. You know, TNT, aka Warner, tried to come through at the last minute and make a pitch to keep the NBA. But they were about a day late and $1 short. What does it mean? Straight from boycott Peacock, we got Amazon, Disney, and NBC in the house about to take over the NBA contract. Now, the one thing that I request, because I did see that Amazon is potentially reaching out to the TNT crew to see if they can bring them over. But so I ain't going to bring that up for now. But the one thing that I gotta have, somebody get John Tesh on line one so we can get this NBA on NBC theme cracking. And I need y'all to hold some real tryouts because I know Bob Costas is getting a little older nowadays. But I need somebody with the intros. As much as I love TNT, I'm telling you, the NBA on NBC intros are only rivaled by WWE. So while I am sad that I'm going to have to turn on Amazon for 66 regular season games to watch the NBA Cup, I guess it could be worse. Disney could have got the big part of the contract.
True.
And then we'd be boycotting Disney. But here we are, folks. It's a new era.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I guess the money doesn't talk. I mean, they offered them a lot. I think it was something like $1.8 billion. It just seems like that's literally like 1% of Jeff Bezos' net worth, which is a crazy thing to say out loud and be correct. Like, legit.
Yes, sir. Call him.
Now, listen, man, we need some new blood. Like, listen, we keep holding on to the past. It's like we need some new blood. I don't want
just the first year. Just the first year.
Nah,
and then hand over the torch.
He could do some special games. If they set up some special events, some special nights, then yeah, he can get it in. But yeah, so I mean, I like it to get off my chest.
Are you kidding me? Like, you know what?
Yeah. But yeah, like on a more of a positive note, I want to shout out the all the Olympians that'll be starting their pursuit of the gold this week or this weekend in Paris. Opening ceremonies are, I believe, the last check, I think it's one day, about 16 hours from now, opening ceremonies. I want to give a shout out to Jersey's own Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone.
Yeah.
She's going to run the 400-meter hurdle. She's probably going to break her record that she set a few weeks ago at the trials. She went 50.68, I believe. And up until when she went under 52 seconds, like no woman had gone under 52 seconds. Now she's already at 50.6 or something like 50.6, 50.65, I believe. So I believe she's going to break that record. Obviously, the men's national team. I love the swimming competitions during the Olympics. Is always just riveting because if you get in the groove, somebody can come out of nowhere. But we've seen it dominate swimming for a lot of events. Obviously, track and field is a big draw. But I want to hear about like the stories because you hear about the stories as people get closer to the goal. Like they can't give you every heartwarming story. And there's people you follow. Big shout out to Alona Marr, the women's rugby team.
Yes.
Last year we did I bought a jersey. I have it hanging up in the closet. Last year we shared one of our clips on social media. She liked it, shared it with her friends. So like I want to appreciate that. So Alona Marr, actually I'm gonna jump up and grab the jersey so you guys know exactly what number you're looking for. Hold on.
And we still love you and we appreciate the love. You know what I'm saying? We know that you're going to go over there and do great things. You know, so I'm going to be watching. I don't really watch much Olympics, but you are a friend of the show, so I got to hold you down.
Yeah, friend of the show. Number 2. Probably one of the nicest people you'll see on social media. But when she gets the ball in her hand, it's literally like a Prius driving through school age kids. I mean, she's just running people over. It's probably one of the most entertaining watches. Their first game is 10:30 Eastern on the 28th. So if you want to check into that, wherever you get it, stream it, NBC. But yeah, so friend of the show, Luna Marr, U.S. rugby team, number 2. Good luck. Bring home the gold. But yeah, positive get off my chest. I want to send good vibes out to everybody competing.
And come on the show country. Too. You know what I'm saying? Come make your presence felt.
Cheers.
You know what I'm saying? From there, we're going to take it over to the Shield, the National Football League. As we continue, the other night we came on here and we talked about a whole bunch of mid, right? But now we're going to the other South, the AFC South, where the Jags, the Texans, the Colts, and the Titans will battle it out. So let's start this off the right way. Mr. Logical.
Listening.
Did the Jaguars procure a division title when they dropped off the $55 million bag?
No, they didn't. But what they did is that I want people to think this through. Everyone's looking at these quarterback contracts saying he's not better than insert player name. That's not why they get paid. You don't propose to your girlfriend because she's better than somebody else's girlfriend. You propose to your girlfriend because she is good for you. You want to build a future with her. Jacksonville looked at it like, we want to build a future with Trevor Lawrence. They gave him the $275 million, I believe. Up above 200 plus is guaranteed, but you know how like NFL quarterbacks are rich. Just ask Derek Carr about extensions and guarantees, and we believe in you, because they cut him before he can even get into his extension, which is the craziest thing. You lock in your guy. You lock him in early, especially at $55 million, because if you wait, you know, we have all these other contracts that are out there. Jordan Love, you have Dak, obviously, to his contract. Mahomes might redo his deal. It's a lot of contracts that can happen over the next, between this offseason that they just signed them and next offseason. So you got to lock them up. They've given them weapons. Some weapons left, some weapons came back. They drafted a young guy to LSU. LSU seems to be a wide receiver factory these days, so you imagine that's going to work. The desire to throw the ball as much as NFL teams are, so I figure he'll get about 35 to 40 passes a game. And Trevor's a good quarterback. It's just that he was the number one pick, and he was a winner all the way up until when he got drafted, and it hasn't translated in the league. But a lot of guys are in that same boat where you're a winner in college, you're a winner in high school, and you come up against better competition for a couple of years. I mean, he lost to Mahomes in the playoffs. Last year he got injured. They were 8-3 before he got injured, like later in the season. So I mean, I think it's a good move because you have to lock up your guy. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
So you remember how every single time 2-5 says the words offensive line, Mr. Logical come through talking about, but the quarterback was holding on to the ball. Well, here's
Some of them were.
Well, here's some offensive line for you, Mr. Logical.
Let's hear it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, per ESPN, last season, 31st. Well, actually, let me reverse that. Second in the league in rushes that either netted 0 yards or negative yards. So that ain't got So that ain't got nothing to do with a quarterback holding on to the ball. This offensive line is bad. So they had Calvin Ridley last year. You know, he came through off of the suspension. You know, he dropped some balls. That's what he does. But he also made some big plays, led the team in touchdowns, led the team in receiving yards. And oh, by the way, he took it over to Cashville. So they bring in Gabe, you might see me once every 4 weeks, Davis, who is only known for his playoff game against Kansas City from 3-4 years ago almost?
I believe it was
3 years ago.
2021?
Something along those lines when he had the 4 touchdowns. And so that was 4 touchdowns. His total 4-year window in Buffalo, he had a total of 27 touchdowns. The good news is 17 of those traveled at least 20 yards through the air. So maybe he adds an element to Jacksonville's offense, you know, that they haven't had. You brought up Brian Thomas from LSU, the rookie. I love him. I love him.
Wide,
you know what I'm saying?
Wide receiver you, apparently.
Yeah, wide receiver you. You know,
Shout out to Adam.
So then you got Travis Etienne, you know, Mr. Clemson himself, you know, who came in the league, had over 1,100 yards as a rookie. Well, last year, he had 107, back to this offensive line, 117 yards less, but 47 more carries. So, yes, Jacksonville started 8-3. They finished 1-5. And I wonder, Mr. Logical, is the former Super Bowl winning coach on the hot seat?
Depends on who of the quality coaches that have been fired in the last couple of years are looking to get back in the game. Is Mike Vrabel looking to get back in the game? Is someone going to take a flyer on Belichick? Or is the Chargers offensive coordinator going to get 11 wins out of Los Angeles and he's going to be the hot candidate? It's going to be something. A lot of teams are going to young coaches. So I would say he probably is on the hot seat because he had 2 years where essentially the division was down. It was theirs for the taking. So because you could throw out the Urban Meyer year for as far as Jacksonville, and then the 2 years that Peterson's been there has been like, oh, you're going to take this over. The previous season, they did all right, and they thought it was going to be a leap. So if it's a step back this year, he's probably going to be on the hot seat. He probably won't be coaching there next year. But it might not be his fault, as we discussed the other teams in the division. It just might be a situation where it's viewed as you had 2 good years. You had 2 years where you were pretty much going to be top dog coming into the season and then drop the ball. And now these other teams got better. They caught up and passed us. So now we got to make a move. So he might be the scapegoat. Consider you just gave the quarterback $55 million. He won't be it.
Which is interesting as well, because you remember who they signed to be the backup quarterback?
McCorkle.
They did. They signed our guy McCorkle, friend of the show.
McCorkle Jones.
Yeah.
because he's from Jacksonville. He's gonna be comfortable at home. I personally probably would have let that. I guess you also have to. You got to sign Lawrence so fans don't start cheering and clamoring for the backup quarterback. We were talking about this yesterday at work, and they were talking like the best position in football is the backup quarterback. And I remember a scene from one of my favorite shows, Entourage. It was like, it's great to be Prince. He was like, why do you want to be the Prince? Like, you should want to be the king. It's like, no, everybody wants to kill the king. The Prince gets to walk around all day saying, one day I'll be king and get all the accolades. So, like, being a backup quarterback is like, it's great. Because when a starter's in there, especially if a starter is not going to bench,
Yeah, I mean, thinking
people are
about
going to
that,
want you. They're going to want you.
Yeah, thinking about that, I think I'd rather have been Simba than Mufasa, I guess. But as we look around the AFC South real quick, since we brought up backup quarterback, we'll get back to Jacksonville in a second. You know who Indianapolis's backup quarterback is?
I had it, but I lost it. Who is it?
The one and only Super Bowl champion, Joe Flacco.
Yo, Joe just need to hang it up, dog.
Man, getting passed around. But back to Jacksonville. They did bring in Eric Armstead as well. They still have Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. So I don't want to be that guy because I know what you just said about the $55 million and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? You got weapons. The excuses are over. So and I don't mean that you got to go out here and make a Super Bowl run or anything like that. But you literally just let a rookie come in and surmount you and usurp your power.
But once again, so like if from that vantage point and that perspective, if you're in the front office, if you think that CJ Stroud's success is because you and Jacksonville as a team lacked, that is how you fire coaches prematurely. Because CJ Stroud's success is a byproduct of what's worked out for a lot of teams. Having a good young quarterback, just play well early, get his confidence early, and steal some wins. Just basically just take over a season and no one expected. Because we were all predicting they would be 4-13.
I mean, you lost the division to a team that lost to the Panthers.
Which is like
the only team that lost to the Panthers.
any given Sunday, and this year's gonna be any given Sunday, Monday. I believe there's games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think Tuesday is the only day that they don't have a game schedule on the league. So any given one of those days that ends with Y, you can lose in the NFL. So Jacksonville shouldn't feel like, oh, we gotta turn it on because Houston's getting better. They should be like, we gotta turn it on because we brought these people in, we brought weapons in, we have a few years under our belt in this system and so forth and so on. So I think that should be their driving force. It shouldn't be Houston's getting better. It's like, is Jacksonville getting better? Because Houston's gonna do what Houston does, and Houston's in a better position because they have a really, really good quarterback on a rookie deal, so they can swing for the fences this year, maybe even like a midseason trade acquisition, and next year sign a big free agent and do it again. And then CJ would get his extension at the end of the 2025-26 season.
I'm mad that you didn't.
Or 24-25 season, yeah.
I'm mad that you didn't even take my bait there.
With me, yeah,
because of course out there before y'all try to jump on me, you know what I'm saying, I do know that the Panthers beat the Falcons as well. So
oh yeah, I think you can probably get a good last year. You probably could have got a really, really good college all-star team that could play good defense on the back end, and you probably could have given the Falcons a run for the money because the quarterback just went through on the deep.
And then you got so I expect to see more Tank Bigsby this year, running back out of Auburn. I think he's going to spell Etienne, and Etienne's going to be more of that out of the backfield receiving kind of running back just to give the defense that look and that threat as well. So Jacksonville has all they put the franchise tag on Josh Allen, or actually he hyphenated his name now.
Yeah, which makes sense for marketing purposes. Like,
right.
If you're gonna be in the running potentially for Defensive Player of the Year, you might not want to have the same name as one of the most popular quarterbacks to the point where people get you confused. So,
right.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move.
MVP candidate quarterback and all, So
Correct,
But yeah, I'm just not there on Jacksonville. I don't think they're going to be a bad team, but I'm just not there. But the problem is that I have to at least pick them second in this division because I've been hearing a lot of talk in the last, I'd say, 2-3 days about how the Indianapolis Colts are going to surprise everybody and make a run for this division. Now, I know they were basically a play away last year from winning the division, but Gardner Minshew is gone. When I look at what they've done, so can Jonathan Taylor stay healthy? That's going to be point number one. You got to keep him healthy. You know why? Because Zach Moss isn't there anymore.
Correct.
So that's rule number one. Keep him healthy. Rule number two is keep your quarterback upright, because even though he only played 2 or 3 games, Anthony Richardson looked a lot better than I had anticipated. Coming out of Florida.
He didn't finish any of those games.
He didn't finish any of those games.
He got knocked out every single one of those games trying to do too much with his body.
Yeah, he was like, if y'all remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out, he was Glass Joe. And
just sticking his face. And I get it. They say he's walking around now like 6'5", 255, and that's dope. But your linebacker, if he's 6'2", 245, it's not that much of a difference. It's not like college. You're not run over a guy who has a biology midterm on Monday. Like you're running into like another grown man. And I would hope the lessons of literally not finishing any of his games last year and then being knocked out for the season. Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson is like, listen, Mahomes scrambles and slides. There's no quarterback. He doesn't do quarterback sneaks. He doesn't just run into contact. He doesn't run through people for first downs. He runs to the sideline where he knows you can't hit me as hard as you want. You can't come at me as hard as you want because I'm by the sideline. So if he sees someone probably coming at him, he steps out of bounds. It's a 15-yard penalty. Or that person lets up because of that, and he gets to sneak through 4 or 5 more yards first down. So he's a sneaky runner. You can't try to be, a power back. Like, you're not a fullback. Don't turn into one when you get past the line of scrimmage with the ball in your hand.
Yeah, don't chance fate.
And then other than that, he's still a rookie. Essentially, he's a rookie as far as the coverages. He hadn't seen that much live football. So I can't put that much stock into Indy's rise. I feel like they'll be a good team. They signed Michael Pittman to a bigger deal than I think most people expected. And it was very quick.
Bigger than he deserved.
And it wasn't as drawn out as like we see some of these other deals that are going on around the league with wide receivers, but it seemed a little high. But like I said, you don't buy the ring for somebody else's girlfriend. You buy the ring for your own. You make that proposal. So like they made that proposal to him. But I would pump the brakes on Indy. I can see them and Tennessee both kind of vying for that. That third or fourth. I think they'll teeter there. I think they'll give the other 2 teams in the division a run for their money. But I just feel like Houston and Jacksonville are just a cut above Jacksonville and Indy and Tennessee.
Yeah. So the Colts, they did do some things in the draft that I liked. They went and got Latu from UCLA. And I'm sorry, excuse me for a second. UCLA. Oh, Deshaun Foster.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so sorry.
We're
sorry.
I didn't Los Angeles. With USC.
I didn't know that you had stage fright like that.
It was awful. I was by myself. I felt bad for him.
Hopefully, whatever you called that you did, hopefully that doesn't rub off on Bieniemy as well. That man done been through enough, But back to the Colts. Like I said, they got Latu. First defensive player drafted. 23 sacks in his 2 years at UCLA, even though he had some neck issues. They went out and got
retired for a while and then came back. Yeah,
they went out and got A.D. Mitchell. From the University of Texas. He's the non-Xavier worthy receiver. 6'2", 205, but still ran a 4.3, 5.40. So, and I'm expecting Josh Downs to have a good year this year, to break out, if you will. The only problem, so this is my problem, Mr. Logical, and this is where I need your help.
I'm listening.
In sports sometimes, it's tough to, I guess, let go of the past, if you will, or to not try to use the past to see the future, even though it may not apply.
Correct.
So the reason that I feel that the Colts might be okay, is that Shane Steichen, before he came to the Colts, was making Jalen Hurts look like an NFL quarterback.
Yo, Jalen Hurts is an NFL quarterback. He just is being coached by a guy who is a frat boy disguised as a coach, and he's like he probably sick of it.
And so like, but I'm trying to find this parallel that might not be there, because I saw, like, I don't disagree with you, but I saw Jalen Hurts before and after Steichen and with Steichen. So is it wrong for me to think that Steichen is going to have that type of positive impact on Richardson if they have a full season together?
Yeah, but that impact is still based off of a guy learning what coverages look like. Jalen Hurts played a couple of years, played pretty well. The Eagles were he played the year Carson Wentz got benched, they moved him out of town. Then he got a full year. I believe they went 9-8 the first 17 game season. So he saw coverages. He saw cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. Man, this he saw all of these things. So then when Steichen got to him, it was like, oh, when you see this, like, remember this play? I remember that. Now, instead of throwing this route, throw this one. So he had a whole year of film to go through with Jalen. And Jalen is a quarter. He wants to be in the pocket. I think he's a good runner. I don't know if he likes to tush push too much. And I think that might have adversely affected his season, because he probably was just like, he's probably dealing with nagging injuries, and then he's putting him into that, that pile. But with Anthony Richardson, he's going to have to go through this 17 games with the expectation of, like, let me stay healthy. Does that make him, does he perform like Lamar did in the playoffs, where you want to prove you can make it from the pocket, you don't want to run, but it kind of held Baltimore back? Because if Lamar scrambles 3 or 4 times in that game, in the AFC Championship game, Kansas City would have to adjust, because he didn't run, they didn't adjust. So does Richardson not run because he doesn't want to get hurt? Does he not know how to slide? Does he not?
That is a great question.
Like, yo, I'm gonna run, but I'm getting out of bounds. Did he talk to Andrew Luck? Like, I mean, sometimes you just kind of need mentorship. But we did it in the military all the time. Sometimes you might not understand. Listen, man, it's $4,500 for you to go to school, and it rolls over every October 1st. He's like, really? Like, yeah, you can use it for this, this, and this. It's there. I know it's available, but I don't know how easy it is to use. Like, how do I use it? Oh, you just click on it. It sends an email to your supervisor. Your supervisor clicks on it, sends it back to you. You send it to the education office. Like, it doesn't have to go to the commander or anybody else. No, it's simple. So when you know that, you can now pass that information on. I'm not sure if he knows, how mentally the struggle is going to be to rehab every single offseason. Andrew, look, listen, I was rehabbing every offseason. It sucked. I couldn't do anything else. Maybe the one offseason of rehab, he's like, I'm just excited to get back out there. But does he know, like, hey, it's a task to rehab every offseason?
And to top it off, we saw what he just did with Gardner Minshew. So I mean, like I said, granted, Minshew may or may not have cost them the season.
Appreciate it, Q. But Flacco's trying to start. Flacco's on a low. He's on that Aaron. Like, remember Brett Favre said he wasn't there to mentor Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers got all upset about it, and it was like all in the news, like, Aaron Rodgers feels a certain type of way about. And then they draft Jordan Love, and the first thing Aaron says, like, hey, I'm not here to be his mentor.
I'm not here to help you take my job.
Yeah, I'm not here to help you replace me.
You know what I mean? But yeah, like Minshew, like I said, may or may not have left the season on the line, last year, but Steichen was able to get them to that point in the first place, because I know, with him and Jonathan Gannon, there were questions. They were away from Philadelphia, away from Sirianni, whatever. How much of the success were coordinators? How much of the success was Sirianni? Year one to the coordinators, yeah. But I think
I co-sign that.
The problem with Flacco, though, is if he does have to play, is The last image we got of him is that playoff game in Houston, where because everybody to use that new buzzword, everyone was lamenting how
Lamenting. I love. I
yeah
thought that's the word you're going to use.
yeah
I
how
didn't want
great
to cut it off. Yeah.
yeah how great Flacco played last year, but he had 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So like let's slow down a little bit. But that goes back to
He had a good Bryce Young year.
yeah, but that goes back to your point, right? The backup quarterback is always the most popular guy. So do you think the Colts could have a problem? Let's say they start out 2-3, and Richardson is kind of looking iffy, still look like maybe mentally he's not there.
Nah, because he'll look spectacular when he's good.
So you don't think it's gonna be an issue?
He'll look like Cam Newton 2.0 when he's good.
That was the hope. So
yeah, that and honestly, like they'll have a game. I'll check their schedule and I'll predict like a thing. So they'll have a game. We'll say where we got the Colts schedule. Except all cookies. They'll have a game week 4 against the Steelers.
mm-hmm.
Whatever their record is, 1-2 at that point. 0-3, whatever it is. But that week 4 game against the Steelers, he'll scramble to his right and run TJ Watt over for the game-winning touchdown. And people will forget that they're 0-3. And they'll just be like, oh, we got one here. We got one here. So, like, he'll have those spectacular moments that Flacco just can't give you. Conversely, with Jacksonville, if Trevor Lawrence didn't get his money, people will be like, we can get Mac Jones to do what Trevor Lawrence is doing. I think that conversation, of course, I like how you ride for your team, Q. But that conversation would have a little bit more merit because athletically, size, give the arm strength to Trevor Lawrence. But if he's struggling, then Mac Jones could probably give you the same thing that Trevor Lawrence gives you. I don't think Joe Flacco gives you anything near what Anthony Richards gives you.
Hey, yo, Q. You know what I'm saying? This is like the juice moment. Hey, yo, Q. You know what I'm saying? Look at the schedule.
I guess he's got them beating the Packers and the Bears.
You know what I'm saying?
Back to back.
I don't know. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Q, you know what? Puff puff give, bro. You hogging it. You know what I'm saying? But this is the other thing. This is the other thing, Q. Are y'all gonna actually win in Jacksonville for the first time since 2014?
It's a long time, though. That's as long as I've been here. They beat me Houston week 1 because it's at home. I can't give you that. He said, because he'll be there. All right, I'll give you that. Yeah, so I like Indy. I like the upside. Bro. I like what they were able to do last year with Gardner Minshew, and I think that's going to help them kind of like ready to ship with their new coach. Because sometimes you have that, like DeMeco Ryans he had such a great year with their starting quarterback. They can't go 8-9. They literally can't afford to go 8-9.
Straight up, and I don't even want to come across like a hater because, you know what I'm saying, I love the fans, I love the engagement, Q, but I'm sitting up here right now, and you better hope that Caleb Williams doesn't start off the season hot because y'all might be looking at 0-5. You know what I'm saying? Let's I'm gonna throw that out there. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at Houston at Lambeau, the game against Chicago, Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could easily be 1-4. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you get Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh be having some what the fuck games. You know what I'm saying? So
I can see reasonably 2-3. I think the Houston game, it's not as tough because it's at home. First week, everybody's always a little off. It depends. Well, Houston's a young team. I think the preseason with the quarterback and the wide receiver targets. Sometimes when you have a young quarterback, even your your young your skill players don't always play a lot. So you have a young quarterback playing of maybe no snaps in the preseason with CJ Stroud. Can you imagine that they say, you know what, you're good to go. You don't need to play any snaps. So he comes out and has to go full throttle week one
That's what I'm about to talk
against
about, Mike.
a
My bad.
division opponent. So I think that could be a game. Depends on who. Are you going to get Anthony Richardson 1 or 2 quarters per preseason game because he missed, 90% of last season, or are you going to keep him on the shelf so he doesn't re-injure himself? So it just depends on how these teams play out, their preseason.
So here's a quick question, Mr. Logical. Outside of defensive line and offensive line, what's the worst problem or what's the worst position group do you not want a problem with in this era of the NFL?
You don't want a bad defensive backfield.
There you go. So let's talk about the Colts defensive backs for a second. You know what I'm saying? So like, last year, right? Dallas Flowers came in. I like Dallas Flowers a lot. You know what I'm saying? But he tore his Achilles. So then you got undrafted free agent Jalen Jones. They not just young Q. They ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? You got Jalen Jones, undrafted out of Texas A&M. He came in, he did, he ended up starting, and it was just like, okay. I do like Juju Brents, to your point, though. I just love the same way that Mr. Logical feels about LSU wide receivers. That's how I feel about Kansas State defensive backs. So, you got me there. Rodney Thompson played a lot of safety. Guess what? 7th round pick. I do like Kenny Moore in the slot. Justin Blackman's been good, but overall, not only are they young, but when you're undrafted, when you're a 7th round pick, the same way that Anthony Richardson needs reps, they need reps too. And they're in a division with CJ Stroud. They're in a division with Trevor Lawrence. And even though he's only in his 2nd year, they got another quarterback in that division that could throw the ball around the field. Now, we'll see what his decision making is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I like, as we transition to Tennessee, like I said, I like Will Levis. They make strides. Worst position group, though. I mean, like I said, you saw it for a whole year. You've seen the whole thing play out. Can you improve on what you saw? Can you be taught, hey, don't go for this move. Make sure you are communicating here. The pass rush, can the pass rush help out a little bit more? Because we talked about that with Atlanta the other day. It's like, it's only so long these guys can cover these skill position players.
Mm-hmm.
NFL field is like 52 yards wide. It's a lot of space if a guy gets open because you only need about a half a yard to get a good pass in there. So if you got a guy, you got to cover all this grass, 52 yards wide. Most routes are running 20, 30 yards down the field. That's a lot of area to cover for essentially about 6 or 7 guys in coverage for the most part.
But keeping it going, you know what I'm saying? We're going to save the best for last. So let's go down to Cashville. So, talking about Will Levis, that quarterback that I was saying could throw it all around. We got to find out, is he of that Brett Favre mold or does he make good decisions? We saw him come out first game against Atlanta. I know I keep picking on the Falcons, but that's just the way it works. It ain't even me picking on him. It's just the way that it is. You know what I mean? He came out 4 touchdown passes in his first game, right? You know what he did after that?
4 total.
He had 5 more touchdowns and 8 interceptions after that. So obviously, he didn't play the whole season. So he's also behind the curve, if you will, when it comes to being in motion, having those reps, being on the field, reading defenses from the field. I'm sure he's over there holding the clipboard and looking at other things. But
he walked in thinking that he was the best option because he was bigger than Ryan Tannehill. He was a better young prospect than what's the bull name? Malik Willis. Right. I think Mike Vrabel didn't. I don't know if Mike Vrabel wanted the last 2 guys. We talked about this before. I don't think he wanted.
He shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think he just was like, I'm gonna ride with Tannehill or go get me. I think he probably would have liked a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, but that would have been a mistake. But I think he
Right.
just was like, I think he might have been low key done with Tannehill.
Yeah, and
And
me and you had that argument
yeah,
because I was saying that Tennessee should have been got rid of Tannehill, should have been got rid of Vrabel, and not even from the standpoint that I don't like Vrabel. He's one of my favorite coaches, but I just felt that, or I feel that teams have certain windows. And it was part of the reason we argued about Sean McDermott last year. It's not about Sean McDermott. It's about you have a window. You know, this has been going on for 5 or 6 years now. Sometimes it's just time. But anyway, they let
yeah,
go.
like that window thing. But that's how you get Callahan in there, another son of a former NFL coach. Shout out to nepotism. But he's going to do his thing. The issue that I see kind of pending with Tennessee is that they have, like, we talk about the GMs and how I'm not sure if they all understand what's going on. On the surface, they have a young quarterback they think could be the guy, and then they went out and got free agents around him because he's on the rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the low deal. They went out, got weapons. They got Ridley. They got Pollard. I think they went and picked up Jamal Adams. He was a great
They got
hard-hitting
L'Jarius Sneed.
Sneed. So they went out and got pieces that you would think, if you believe in a quarterback, they should make a run. They're probably looking at Houston like, yo, this guy's, he came out as a rookie year, did this. It was the same thing that we talked about back in the day with teams, when teams were looking at Indianapolis and thinking they can do what Peyton Manning does. Well, Peyton Manning was able to manipulate the defense to the point where he was getting everybody open, or getting the guys open that he wanted to throw the ball to every single time. Every quarterback doesn't have that same kind of, moxie. Shout out to Mike. But I think Will Levis is going to get slapped in the face by one of his wide receivers on the sideline at some point this year, because he was barking a lot in the second quarters, 3rd and 8 in the pass. And he's coming over to the sideline, just fiery. They say it's passion. He looked like he wanted to get slapped. And it's like, like I said, and that's what, like I know it's my man, so he's going to agree with me. I don't know how long that's going to hold up, because he was yelling at, like, NFL, not like a grown man because they're all adults, but like seasoned vets. Like, he was yelling at D-Hop.
Hey,
and
this man came from the SEC.
Kentucky, cool, that was dope. I'm saying, but it's like, I get that you want to be a leader, and sometimes you do that, but also you have to back it up. You can't have one good game against a team that's notorious for not having a good pass rush and then come out barking at anybody when you don't even eclipse. You got 5 more touchdowns and 8 picks after that. So I think that can be, if he doesn't grow into the offense and someone doesn't really check that, like, listen, you're not Tom Brady, even though you train with him and he has kind of low-key co-signed you as the next guy up. That's not the word. You know what I mean?
So I think Tennessee is one of those teams that you might not want to play them week 15. Like, they're going to take lumps early and they may come on late. I mean, ask Jacksonville. Jacksonville last year with the division on the line, got smacked around. That's Miami, Monday Night Football. But it's all going to depend on, obviously, what Brian Callahan could do. He came in from Cincinnati, but I don't think they're going to run that same type of offense. Or if they do, it might be more like what they were running when Jake Browning took over for Joe Burrow last year. But I do like some of their weapons. I like Tajay Spears. I'm not the biggest Tony Pollard fan, but I like Tajay Spears. They brought in Calvin Ridley, like I mentioned, to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Only problem is, and this is like one of those things that's like not a problem, but it is a problem. So they brought in
number one.
They brought in I always say Taj. They brought in Tyler Boyd from Cincinnati.
He's a slot guy.
Well, that's the problem. What I'm saying? Because now you're going to have to put DeAndre back outside. Last year he did a lot of his damage in the slot, because he may have lost a step or two, but the good thing about a good receiver like DeAndre Hopkins is he's going to have the route run. He's a good route runner,
Yeah.
and somehow he still hasn't been called for offensive pass interference. So
Ever?
I mean, it seems like it, but he does it every play. So Tennessee has things to work with. So maybe we're looking at Tennessee 2 years from now.
They
As a
don't have
team.
2 years with that. Their weapons are win now. That's the thing.
But
The
that's the problem. They
philosophy
ain't
is
gonna win now.
their weapons say win now because we got a young quarterback rookie deal. Our weapons are older. Pollard is not going to give you what he gave you a few years back before Dallas paid him.
And before that injury.
Yeah, before the injury. And then you have Ridley. Ridley's a good wide receiver. D-Hop's a good wide receiver. Boyd's a good wide receiver. But they're all kind of long in the tooth. You have plenty of film on them. They are what they are. Normally, when you have a young quarterback, you want a wide receiver that they can kind of grow with, a la Burrow and Chase. They had the time together in LSU. They came into the league, and it was like, okay, these guys are going to get incrementally better together.
You're
Tank
right.
Dell and CJ Stroud, like, we heard Tank Dell say multiple times that when Houston drafted CJ called him and was like, yo, we're going to come get you. I don't know how much CJ was allowed to input into the draft before he put a helmet on for the team, but maybe he just saw the draft board, or they told him like, hey, these are guys we're looking at, and they told Tank Dell, and they're allowed to go together. But obviously he got injured as well, but he's back. So what you have in Tennessee is a mixed bag of win now, but we're not sure if the weapons you have are of. If for that, realistically, if they were going to sign Ridley,
basically,
they should have kept Derrick Henry. They should have been like, you know what, we'll go old, borderline into their career superstars. And
maybe if they kept Henry, they couldn't bring him in. You know what I mean? But also, they brought in I can never say this guy's name. Awuzie. the corner from Cincinnati, because now Christian Fulton's gone, who was talented but hasn't played a full season. So that's an upgrade. So at the very least, it may be tough to throw on Tennessee. So maybe they can stay in these games. Maybe they could, some degree, not, maybe they could look like the Raiders from last year and just be that irritant.
Yeah, if you can play, like I said, if you can play tough up front, they're team keep your nose to the grindstones, all these cliches. But when it comes down to it, I think the quarterback personality is going to be the difference between winning 24-21 and losing 24-21.
Yeah, and to Q's point, they did go out and get JC Latham in the draft, who by some accounts is the best lineman in the draft this year, either him or Joe Alt. They also drafted Skoronski last year, who got hurt, and he just it just didn't click last year. So we'll see if he can do better in year 2 coming off the injury. So Tennessee has at least addressed the offensive line. It's just a matter of getting them developed.
And then what is their expectations? If their expectations are managed properly, first year coach, essentially a first year QB with a little bit of film time, is 5-12, 6-11 a realistic benchmark? But if you get blown out in those 11 losses, then yeah, you have a problem. But if you're in the game, is that enough for people to keep their jobs? You're not firing people because you think, hey, CJ did it, we should be able to go 9-8 with this roster because I paid all these players.
But that's the problem too. But that's the problem too. Going back to your point of what you just said, that's the problem. They won 6 games last year. You know what I mean? So it's not that
But they probably were expecting, because they were number 1 in the AFC a couple of times during their playoff runs. They just came up short because of late game interceptions, like the Cincinnati Super Bowl run. Cincinnati's defense ended every game in the playoffs with the defensive play.
They sacked him 9 times. They sacked Burrow 9 times.
Yeah, even in the Super Bowl, Cincinnati's defense made the defensive play, but it just was called for did they call him for pass
I want to
interference
say it
or
was
illegal
no. I think it was. I think it was illegal contact,
legal contact or
if I
something like
remember
that? But
correctly.
essentially, it would have been 4 because it would have been 4th and 5 or something like that from the 9. So Cincinnati's defense was making game-ending plays that whole playoff run, but Tannehill threw the pick, and I think Vrabel was done with him from that point on. So the
As he
expectation with
should have
Vrabel
been.
probably was like 10 or 11 wins. So when they only got 6, they fired him. I think it was a bad move to fire him, but I understand now you can just reset that clock. But when they go get all these other veterans, it's like you're working 2 concepts. It's like you got a new suit but old shoes on.
See, if I'm Tennessee, at the very least, and this is internal. I'm not saying this to be fact. If I'm Tennessee, I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, yo, we're as good as Indy. Saying if not better because we went out and made these moves. The Ridleys, the Sneeds. We went out and did these things. Whereas the Colts did good draft moves, but not
Correct.
necessarily anything from a free agency standpoint to bring in somebody from an impact standpoint. So I think that if you could get to 8 wins, that's a bonus. You know what I mean? But
Tennessee?
yeah, if you're Tennessee, if you 8
Yeah,
wins
you're
is a
over. I
bonus.
think you're 8 wins is a
But
7 wins is a bonus, 8 wins is overachieving.
but they're probably looking at 1-3. They start at Chicago, home for the Jets, home for Green Bay, and then they go down to South Beach, before their bye week. So they get the bye week early, come off the bye week, they get the Colts.
I get
They
you 2-2 there because we
all
don't
right,
know what Caleb was going to do.
all right,
Like
but
I
hold
think
on, but
everyone
listen to
likes
this.
Caleb. Yeah, I
But
get
hold
you
on,
two and
listen to
two.
this real quick. Listen to this. So after they go to South Beach, they get their bye week early, week 5. They play the Colts at home. So you gotta win that game if like with the moves that you made, you gotta expect to win that game. Then you go to Buffalo and Detroit back to back. It's over after that. Like, what I'm saying? Like, that's the
Yeah,
end of your season. You know what I mean? That's the end of your chapter. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What you saying, bro? What you saying, bro? Woo! Whoa! Dakota Mike, aka Dallas Mike. Whoa!
trying to think. Let's run it back.
Whoa!
Let's run it back. So
It,
with that statement with Mike, let's kind of run it back. Let's think.
that's a hell of a
So
segue, Mike. Good job.
yeah, so we got 8. Let's go AFC champions for the last. Oh no, not AFC champions. The
I look like we got some more technical difficulties, but y'all beefing in the comments. I love it. You know what I mean? But hey, look, Houston is so this is what I said. This was during the off season. Well, I mean, we're still in the off season, but this was during around the free agency time, right? Because somebody kept telling me that people on TV were saying that Houston was being picked to go to the Super Bowl. I'm still waiting on my clip because I ain't seen it or heard it yet. But with that being said, I made the comment of I don't think that Houston can, like, even right now, they with Derrick Henry, I don't think Houston can beat Baltimore still. But I might give Houston a puncher's chance against Kansas City. I might.
why against Kansas City?
Well, when you're looking at the two of them, like the Ravens just have too much. Whether it's defense, whether it's Derrick Henry, whether Zay Flowers is about to have another great year. So I just think that Baltimore is just too much. Kansas City, like they just got so much turmoil going on in the offseason right now. Like, what's Rasheed Rice's status?
Nah,
They
I
lost
think that
Snead.
turmoil is kind of probably overblown. It's probably just pretty standard for most teams. You got to keep in mind,
They,
you got 53 men on your active roster. You got 20 to 30 guys in your practice squad. You got like 80 dudes on your team. So, like, if your 7th-string offensive lineman gets in trouble, you're starting wide receiver. Yes, that is awful. But you got Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy filling right in.
mm-hmm.
Like I said, I like Houston. I like what they're doing. I like how they're deliberately going all in. Tennessee is trying to like kind of mimic what Houston's doing, except Houston has a better quarterback for the weapons that they brought in. So having CJ Stroud, his confidence, and we've been hearing him all off season break down plays. Like I remember like a
Yeah, he's a
conversation
student of the game.
him and Michael Parsons were having. It was like, yo, let's build like your best offense versus best defense and what play you would call. And like he drew up on the board. And this conversation they're having back and forth just lets me know, as a person who never played like high level football ever in my life, is like what they know and how they can communicate and talk. It's like on the field, it's great. I think the NFL will love a Houston Dallas Super Bowl, which would just be chaos. But
Yeah, they actually played this season too. But but
so
Houston,
like
but this is the problem with CJ Stroud and why I think that he won't have a sophomore slump and why they could beat a team like Kansas City. Because remember, I was talking about Will Levis decision making. CJ Stroud threw 5 interceptions last year. In his 2 years at Ohio State, he threw a total of 12 total. He doesn't turn over the ball. Like he got hurt last year. You know, he had the concussion, missed 2 games. He still went over 4,000 yards. And, you know, Tank Dell is going to be back. He did that with Tank Dell gone, you know, to close out the year because of the, I think it was the ACL. But then
was it ankle?
it was
I thought it was a broken fibula.
it might have been. Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Like
It was a broken fibula. It was a broken
broken
fibula.
fibula.
Yep. And then, of course, you know, thank goodness that he's good after getting shot this offseason. You know, Nico Collins is breaking out and emerging. So, and they went and got Stephon Diggs. So, you know, if they didn't get Stephon Diggs or somebody of Stephon Diggs' ilk, you know, maybe I could feel that there's a chance for a slump. But I just don't know how you have a slump in that situation. And they went out and got Joe Mixon too.
Yeah, he has a top tier wide receiver core. He has a top tight end talent.
But
He
see,
has
that's the thing. Diggs doesn't need to do what they think that or whatever. Like he just needs to be a presence. He just needs to get attention. That's all it is.
Diggs can still be 1,050 to 1,125, but I think the way, and if I personally but with Diggs, I look at it like this: when you have young gun wide receivers that are going to stretch the field, and you're worried about, okay, is he going to have an attitude? You get him the red zone targets. So if he can't get 1,200 yards receiving, maybe he gets 900 yards, but he has 8 touchdowns because you draw up red zone. You know, you make him the number one option in the red zone. So instead of, you know, because sometimes, like we talked about all the time, like a guy's a number one guy and he's coming to another team. Like, where do you fit in? Where is the relationship between quarterback and wide receiver? But if you're trying to get down the field, Tank Dell is going to stretch the field. Nico Collins is going to stretch the field. And if you get in the red zone, you give Diggs a couple of those targets,
and not only that,
get him a few extra touchdowns.
And not only that, like try to factor in what did Stephon Diggs have next to him in Buffalo as far as the rest of the receiving core up there. You know, like
they had guys. The reason they had guys because Allen was throwing the ball all over the field.
So
it was like a talent thing. It just was like Josh Allen was going to throw the ball.
No, they had good tight ends.
He was going to throw it to Shakir.
Yeah, I like Shakir. But
he's going to throw it to Gabe Davis.
But they didn't have a
another guy you had to double.
Tank Dell and Nico Collins. They didn't have that. And you know, Ferguson's not a bad tight end. I mean, he's not Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox. But when you combine that with their receivers, you know what I'm saying? Like Gabe, don't come. No. I already talked about Gabe. Don't make me disrespect him again because I will. You know what I mean? Like
we try to get friends on the show.
You know what I'm saying? Nah, like you know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, like I just feel like Houston made the right moves around him. And then of course on defense, you know, they did lose my guy Grinard, but they brought in Danielle Hunter. You know, they brought in your guy Okuda.
Yo, you know? have you looked at a picture of Danielle Hunter? Like, just like all of you listening, if you're watching this podcast, just Google a picture of Danielle Hunter and think about the fact that man's job is to go hit other people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how he looks. And the fact that Minnesota was like always kind of jerking him around. Pause.
Right.
It was like he's never seemed to be viewed as like a primary guy. And it's like, how do you not make that work? It's ridiculous what he can do. And then you put him on the outside of Will Anderson, D'Amico Ryans. I remember I heard a mic'd up clip of him who's talking to like one of the outside linebackers. And he said, he's like, listen, man, on third down, this is a route they like to run. Don't turn to your right. Turn to your left, drop back. It'll be right there. He puts him back out there in the field. Quarterback throws the ball right to him. He returns it. I don't think he returned it for a touchdown, but it was like when he came off the sideline, D'Amico was like, see, I told you. So you can tell that he's a student of the game and he's able to articulate that like in game. Like, hey, turn left, drop back, he'll throw it right to you. And it literally came right to him on the next possession. So Houston does have I think they have the temperament to not let it get to their head. Because CJ was cocky off the rip. Like he was in a conversation with I think he was on the pivot. And he asked someone was asking him a question. And he's like, what school did you go to? I think it was like
I thought you went to Alabama.
That must be somewhere good. It was like, but it was cocky, but it was confident, it was cocky, and it wasn't over the top, and it felt authentic. It felt like he really felt like, yo, really? You talking to me and you didn't go whatever, and pressed on, and was like, it was funny in the moment, but if you hear him talk, like I can listen to him break down plays. Of course, like a guy like Ryan Clark. So I like I said, I like the conversation with him and Michael Parsons. So, I like how it translated onto the field. I like the fact that he didn't take all the preseason. I saw one mock draft that had him going 12.
Nuts.
Last year. I had him like because of the room, either the rumors about the one leg test or whatever score got leaked for whatever test. So,
I like half of the time I don't even call him CJ Stroud. They be like, who the Texans quarterback? And I'd be like, oh, you mean that's why the Panthers are the Panthers?
Oh,
that's just what I refer to him as.
Calling him Beige Brady.
But I got them starting out 6-2, and then it gets really tough after that.
Who's the two?
The two, I got them losing to one of, so they're going to lose at Lambeau, I think. And then I got them losing to one of Jacksonville or Buffalo, but this is the problem though. So after they play the Colts in week 8, and their bye is in week 14, by the way.
That's tough. Luckily, they're a young team, but that's tough.
Yeah, they go to the Jets, home for Detroit, at Dallas on Monday Night Football, Tennessee, and then at Jacksonville. Then they come out of the bye week. They go home Miami, at Kansas City, home Baltimore, and then close with Tennessee. So, you know what I mean? So
that's the first place schedule. That's
the first place schedule, and that's where Jacksonville is going to have a chance to win the division just because of the schedule and how it breaks for Houston. So I'm still picking Houston to win the division, but like I think that Jacksonville is the only other option. And it's not because I think Jacksonville is just this good team or anything like that. It's just that I don't think the other two teams are good.
The thing with Jacksonville is like, we're going to look at some of these teams like Detroit's going to look good all year. Like they might lose some games, but Detroit's going to look good.
Schultz, my bad. Dalton Schultz. That's what I meant. Yeah.
You're going to be able to look at a Detroit game and be like, you know what, it's going to be a good team. You're going to be able to look at Kansas City, obviously Baltimore. I'm not sure if Jacksonville is going to be able to give you that consistent, like we are a winning team, because you can get to 10-7 and have like a mediocre stretch. Because 10 is like 9-8, 10-7. 9-8 is going to get somebody in the playoffs. It's going to get at least one. It's going to get one or two division winners at 9-8, and maybe one or two wild card teams as it plays out.
So let's do this real quick. So think about.
I think like I said, I think Jacksonville is going to look like a team that they're going to go through a stretch where 2 games are going to look really good, and then
Jacksonville might start. Well, Jacksonville might start 1-3. Because they start at South Beach Cleveland at home, and then they go Buffalo and Houston on the road back to back.
I mean, Tyreek might miss a few games for baby showers, so like they might be all right.
Now he'll be there. Nick Cannon makes all his events.
Him and
You
him
know,
and
so,
Nick doing
so
Skype baby showers.
so the advantage that Jacksonville has is that their schedule breaks good later. So, where I was talking about Houston and their bye week and what they have after, Jacksonville's bye week is week 12. They come out of the bye with Houston at home, tough game, but then they go to Tennessee, Jets at home, at the Raiders, Tennessee at home, and close at Indianapolis. So,
But that
they
the
have the
problem
schedule
is
advantage.
they're playing teams that this they're playing teams between week 14 and week 18 that theoretically could be out of the playoff run, and their head coach warrior, like driving call, like their galvanizing piece is, let's make it tough on them.
Right.
Like that whole, like the Dan Campbell, when they found out around halftime that they weren't going to be able to make the playoffs, when they found out that they weren't going to make the playoffs, so they were like, well, let's ruin Green Bay's chances of making the playoffs.
See,
Like,
I don't know if I agree with that, Mike.
You seen 49ers defense, they got worse. They didn't get worse.
They might have actually got better.
They were like, they fired Steve Wilkes after the Super Bowl, but when you check his numbers were better than the year before.
Less points per game.
Yeah, less yards per game, turnovers, everything was better. It's just that Shanahan didn't like the fourth quarter and overtime play calls. That's why he called that timeout. But yeah, the DeMeco Ryans defense, the weapons that they had in San Francisco made that defense tough. And I said, I think he'll be fine. I think they're going to be the darlings of the AFC.
Yeah.
You still got to give me that stretch where, like, if you get to 6-2, 7-2, then you got to give it up. But like I said, I like CJ Stroud, so I'm not going to doubt. Like, if someone says Houston's going to the Super Bowl, I don't really have an argument against it, other than I need to see them beat some of these first place teams that they have to play that are going to be perennial, between Buffalo, Kansas City.
I got Baltimore. My eye on that Monday night game against Dallas.
You give me 2 out of 3 of those. If you beat 2 out of, because they have, let me pull it up again. So they have.
I might have to try to make it to that Monday night game against Dallas.
They got Buffalo week 5. They have.
You're talking about the Texans, right? Yeah.
The Texans. They got Buffalo week 5, Detroit, a number 1 team, week 10, another number 1 team in Dallas, week 11. And then
Murderers Row.
Murderers Row, Miami, Kansas City, Baltimore. So that's 6 games. You give me 4-2 out of that, I'll believe you're Super Bowl bound. Long as your 2 losses aren't bad. Like, long as your 2 losses
there's no Panthers on their schedule. There's no Panthers on their schedule, so they're good.
So long as they're not bad losses, you give me 4-2 out of that stretch of those 6 first place teams. I can see in January people putting money on Houston to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, and it wouldn't sound crazy to me. If you put money on the Jets and you try to make an argument for the Jets, I'm like, I don't see that. I don't see how that pans out.
And Derek Stingley might announce himself as a top 3 or 4 corner in the league this year.
You said announced. I thought you were going to say retirement. There's been a lot of that going on in the NFL.
No, they got they went and got Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia as well. So, like, it's not just free agency. Like, Houston's just making moves all the way around the board. You know what I mean? So,
and they're paying CJ Stroud $125.
That's what I'm saying. So,
$125 an hour.
Yeah. So I got the Texans. 11-6. I got Jacksonville 9-8.
9-8. You could be 10-7.
Yeah, sense. I got Indy 8-9, and I got Tennessee 6-11.
I can align with that. Just because I don't, like I said, Anthony Richardson, if he plays like rookie year Cam, like those first 2 games when Cam threw for 400 yards in both games, and you get the crowd into it, and you get that loud dome. And it becomes a hostile place to play your games, I'm with it. But if it's a matter of like, hey, this is like the first round of a boxing match for him where he's kind of learning over these next 17 games, you can't really expect a lot of wins from that kind of, ideology.
Well, All right. What's up, Q? Talk to me, man. What you got in mind?
All right, here we go. Q long with it. He's bad as I am. He was my old troop, so he's just as
What,
bad as I am.
what you got in mind, Q? But yeah. So the Colts, like I said, like I just there's just a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? So I just can't get there. You know what I mean? Like, could they go 9-8 and make sneak in the playoff? They absolutely can. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know what kind of bet you want to make because I know,
Oh,
you
he
know.
makes a lot of bets. He does a lot of Facebook profile bets. There's always somebody else's team's face
See,
or
I don't think that's
quarterback in
worth
front of
it.
his.
I don't think that's worth it though.
Oh,
Because
he makes some more. He
no, no,
makes some.
no. I'm saying because I said they're gonna go 8-9, and he's like they win at least 9 games. I can't bet that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we betting off a game. Like, you
I
know
mean,
what I mean? I can't do that. You
you
know what
can
I'm
run it.
saying?
He's in Texas.
You
You
know
can
what I'm
go up there
saying?
and holler at him.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Well, hey, Q, Lil saying, hold up, wait, hold up, hold up,
But
hold up.
he's a Florida State fan too, so y'all might bond if y'all meet up.
Oh, there
So
you go. I'm going to the game up at SMU. Hopefully, I see you there. But let me see. Hold on. Let me look at the schedule real quick, Q.
oh yeah, he's on out
Hey,
in Dallas. Yeah,
October 27th. Colts and Texans. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Might
go
have to
down to
make.
Houston.
Yeah, might have to make a trip. We'll see. You know.
I'll check
Well,
my schedule. I'll come down.
yeah, we'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? We got some time to
I'm
figure it
wearing
out.
all Falcons gear. Though. I don't care.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be up in my Commodores gear. You know what I'm
Yeah, like
saying?
Lionel Richie.
You know what I'm saying? Keep playing around. I'm gonna grow this Smokey Robinson out too. You know what I'm saying? Just to make the cipher complete. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I'm gonna be there September 28th. Gerald Ford Stadium, Florida State SMU. I will be there doing my war chant,
that's
losing my
Dallas.
voice.
Is that in Dallas?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. That
yeah.
oh
So
yeah, that's where all the that's where the death penalty started. Those
yeah, they're
war
they're
games.
actually in Dallas, unlike those fuck boys in blue and silver.
That's close enough.
Yeah, whatever.
Everything Dallas until you get to Oklahoma to me when I drive to Texas.
That's some disrespectful shit right
It's
there.
Abilene, Wichita Falls. This is all Dallas. This is San Antonio. This is all
You disrespected
this
Texas
is
more than I disrespected Gabe Davis.
everything in West Texas is El Paso. Like I don't know it. It's all El Paso.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Shit. Hey,
I
I
just
ain't
feel
gonna
like
lie to you. Most of Texas look like fucking Lubbock or something.
yo,
You
it's a
know,
2 day drive to get through Texas. You gotta take leave to drive around Texas.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I went to I drove up to Cheyenne a couple of months ago, and it was a 15-hour drive, and like 9 of that was just getting out of Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I did. I had to stop in New Mexico because I was like, I'm not gonna make it to Texas tonight, so I stopped in New Mexico.
yeah.
But yeah, so I like the AFC South. It's intriguing because I believe every team has their quarterback. 3 of the 4 teams, I think they have their long-term coach. No matter what the results of the season are,
Mhm.
like they have their coach for the next couple of years. Jacksonville is probably the only question mark at coach, just because, like I said, their expectations were just they should have been after the early part of after the playoff comeback win against Los Angeles. That was the moment where it was like you couldn't have been in a worse situation. It's one thing to be down a lot of points because the other team is cooking. That
Right.
happens. You get the ball first, or they get the ball first, get a touchdown, you punt, they get another touchdown, and then like a crazy fumble just happens. Like while you're down 14-0, now you're
Oh,
down 21-0. It's not doing you. But when you're starting quarterback those 4 picks, and that's how you get down 27 points, and then he leads the comeback, and then going into Kansas City. And I'm still faulting whoever was calling defensive plays in that game for Jacksonville. When Mahomes got hurt, I'm sending the house. I'm sending
I'm sitting in the
9
house.
people
I'm sitting.
every
I'm sitting in the
first
apartment
and 10.
complex.
I'm throwing beer from the stands,
You
pretzels, nacho
know?
cheese. I'm doing whatever. Listen, I'm taking a couple penalties.
Hey, I'm gonna
I'm gonna
treat
hit him
that
in the
man.
head. Because he can't move like on those stretch run plays when he was hobbling. I'm shooting linebackers in the gap.
Treat
I
that
don't
man
care
like
what our
Fozzie from the
game
Muppet
plan
Babies and
was.
hit him with some tomatoes too.
Like, listen, we're gonna play cover 3 and zone. Like, we playing man-to-man defense, and I'm going mid blitz all game long
With Josh
until
Allen, by the way.
and long as I can just keep hitting them. If we lose, we lose. I'm not gonna sit back here and let a guy stand back there on 1 foot throwing the ball around. I'm bringing the house. So I think that was a problem. If they would have brought the house, they would have gone into the AFC Championship game. It would have been a different story. So I think that's why, like, Peterson is on the hot seat.
So this is my problem, Q, real quick before we get out of here. This is my problem though. So like let's just play a quick game of process of elimination. You know what I'm saying? So the AFC East champion is going to get into playoffs, whoever that may be. We both picked Miami.
Correct.
I'm going to assume that we're both going to pick Kansas City to win the West. So that's 2 playoff teams right there.
I don't want to give it away, but yeah.
I mean, just being real about it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the Ravens are gonna make the playoffs. I don't know if they're gonna win the division or not, but they're gonna make the playoffs because Cincinnati's probably coming with them if Burrow can stay healthy. So that's a big question. That's a big question.
That's gonna be the tough. We might have to say that for last.
Right, but I know, yeah, you're right. But so that's 4 teams right there, right? So that's 4 teams. Now, you said that there's 2 surprise teams in the playoffs every year. So
per conference.
So
yeah.
So people gonna be riding for the Chargers, right? Jim Harbaugh's in town.
No,
not me. No spoiler alerts, but but yeah, like you know what I mean. Some people gonna be riding for Jim Harbaugh, right? People are probably gonna pick another team from the East. Whether that's Buffalo. Some people are gonna mistakenly believe in the Jets.
I think people are gonna have 3 teams from the East, and it's like that's not how it goes.
But what I'm saying though is that the South champion is going to get in, whoever that may be. We're saying that it's going to be Houston. So, like for the Colts to get in, you're really teetering on that last spot.
But like I said, 9 and 8 is going to get you in. If we had to think about it, like off the top of my head, Cleveland. Cleveland may take a step back because I'm not sure what Deshaun Watson has left in the tank.
Right. I don't believe in Pittsburgh.
That's a playoff team that's out. Pittsburgh was a playoff team potentially out, which is ironic because they have what you would argue, and we'll get to this, as better quarterbacks than they had last year. But for some reason, it doesn't feel like those, because they have 2.
Right.
I think if they just had Russ and make a couple other moves, I'd be a little bit more.
Nah, bro. Justin Fields coming out the backfield.
That's what I'm saying. It just, none of it seems like to make sense. And I trust Tomlin, so I figure he's going to figure it out. But, it's like something like, so you got 14 teams that make the playoffs, 5 to 6 are new every year. So the Colts have a chance, but in order for that to be the case, they would probably have to win their division because Buffalo's going to probably get 10 wins. Cincinnati and Baltimore, both of them are probably going to get 10 wins. So one of them's going to win the division. One's going to be the wild card. So that's 2 wild card spots already because we both picked Miami.
And that's what I'm saying.
Miami's schedule says 13-4, 12-5 if they have if it's a windy day and Tua can't throw it. But their schedule plays out for them to be 12-5 or 13-4.
Right.
Just off like when they get their cold weather teams. They even get their cold weather teams at home. Mm-hmm. And then they go on the road to cold weather cities that play in domes. So it's like,
or they play them in the building.
They play the cold weather. They play teams like, I think they have Lambeau is probably like the only cold outdoor game that's probably going to actually be cold. Sprinkle in maybe a game on the East Coast that might be chilly.
Right.
So their schedule lays out for them to be 12-5, 13-4. So that gives you Cincinnati as a wild card, Buffalo as a wild card. You only got 1 left.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to get the 9 wins, and you got to win a multitude of tiebreakers. That's going to be the Colts' problem because we believe Houston's 11-win team. We don't believe Indianapolis is 11-win team. So in order for you to believe that Indianapolis is going to get in, you have to wholeheartedly believe that they are the best 9-8 team of out of the Jets,
You better hope that.
out of the Chargers,
Yeah.
and so Jets, Chargers, Indy.
You better hope that Aaron Rodgers
Out
look
of
like.
those three,
You better hope Aaron Rodgers look like Bubby Brister out here. You know what I
yeah. So
mean? Like, like you
so
need
so
all
that,
that. You need
so,
Trevor
so
Lawrence to
that's
look like Daniel Jones.
so that's the team that they're competing with. So all year long, Q, you should be voting and hoping and betting against the Jets and the Chargers, and maybe Cleveland if their defense can stay. So you got Jets, Cleveland, Chargers, Miami, KC, both, and the Jets. Maybe you got to figure the last one. So you got Indy as the.
Well, I don't think that's in order. I think he's just listing teams.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you got Indy. If you got him 6, you got it. A healthy Joe Burrow is in. Healthy Joe Burrow is 10 wins. Like that's just the way that Cincinnati set up. If a healthy Joe Burrow is going to get you 10
Like
wins.
I said, I would feel a little better if Anthony Richardson played more last year because, like I said, he did look good in the games that he started but did not finish. He did. You know what I mean? So if he would have had a full season under his belt,
I don't think the numbers bear out that way, but
it
was like 50% completion pace. It was like 57% completion percentage, and he got knocked out of every game.
To your point, Q,
I think
Richardson ain't either.
I think he's Black Justin Herbert. I think he's likable, and people root for him, and his brother's deep voice really captivated people at the draft. And I think he's likable because you got to keep in mind, he launched up the draft boards with not a lot of equity from Florida.
He jumped off the damn board because people thought he could beat LeBron James at basketball. That's why he went up the board with his vertical. Like all that kind of stuff. It wasn't because of quarterback play.
That's what I'm saying. So now that he's in the league, I think he's likable. Some guys are likable, some guys aren't. Like so, when we get to AFC North,
fuck the Gators, North, I don't like them.
Yeah, but I have no allegiance to college teams as far as that really matriculate into my argument. But with Anthony Richardson, I think he's likable. But if you're an Indianapolis fan, and listen, my pops, one of my favorite people on earth is a Colts fan. He has been since I was born, and even before I was born, because he wasn't a Redskins fan back in the day when they were called the Redskins. He was a Baltimore Colts fan. I would tell him the same thing. 9-8, and you hope you're the best 9-8 of the 4 teams that could potentially be 9-8.
Yeah, you're gonna be in tiebreaker central.
The Jets, the Jets, Indy, Cleveland, Los Angeles Chargers.
And you better, you at the very least, you better sweep Tennessee, and you better win in Jacksonville. At the very least,
you need those AFC tiebreakers because I think that's the space that Indy is in. And it's not because I think they're a bad team.
They're not a bad team.
They don't have enough, but in order to make the playoffs, that's your competition right there.
Right.
Like if this was college football playoff conversation, I'm telling you, hey, if you're Indiana and you want to get in, you got to fight against these guys that are going to be from 11 to 16. You got to be better than them to ensure you get to 11. Yeah, it's not about the quarterback play. It's about the fact that the quarterback that you have starting this year, he watched Minshew play last year. It wasn't as if Minshew was starter and then Anthony Richardson came in this year as a rookie. He watched him play because he got knocked out of 3 games.
All right, so let's do this real quick. Let's do this real quick. So I called 8 and 9. Let's do this real quick and then we'll get out of here. All right, so you ready for this?
Let me pull up the schedule so we go at the same time. Hold on.
Yep.
Give me 1 second. All right, so I'm gonna pull it up. And are you just you give your point of view, and I'm just gonna say WLWL. All right.
You know,
I'm just right. I'm not gonna look. I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah, AQ. That's the hypocrite part, right? Burrow ain't never healthy. When the hell JT healthy? You know what I'm saying? All right, here we go.
All right.
Versus Houston, L. At Lambeau, L. Chicago, win. Pittsburgh, win. At Jacksonville, L. At Tennessee, L. Miami, L. At Houston, L. Minnesota, at Minnesota, win. Versus Buffalo, L. At the Jets, you know what? I'm going to give y'all that one. Versus Detroit, L. At New England, win. At Denver, win. Tennessee, win. At Giants, win. Jacksonville, win.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8, 9.
Only one I think I had a note on. Give me 1 second.
Like, and maybe they sweep Tennessee, and that's how you get the 9 and 8.
The Jets game. You gave that to
I gave
Jets.
that to the Colts. I gave it to the Colts.
You gave it to the Colts. Which one did you? I meant to write a note, but you're going kind of quick. Chicago?
Yeah, I gave them Chicago. I gave them Pittsburgh.
So you had the first Tennessee game going to Tennessee then?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
And that's what I'm saying. If they sweep Tennessee, I think they go 9 and 8. They can get to 9 and 8.
No, if they sweep Tennessee, they go 10 and 7. You gave them 9.
Oh, I gave them 9. Well, there you go. 8 and 9, 9 and 8. You're in that zone.
No, you gave them.
No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. They're in that.
8, yeah.
Yeah, they're in that zone. They're like toss-ups because.
Yeah, so if they sweep Tennessee,
because I gave you got to remember I gave them the Jets. You know what I mean? So that's your 8 and 9 right there.
I mean, we got to see how he performs in primetime. That's a Sunday night game on NBC, standalone game. What we got? What's the temperature? November 17th.
You know what I'm saying? Up in New Jersey. Yeah.
That gives you about 40. About 40 degrees.
And
maybe
don't forget, hey, and you know what? And why you
at it, abnormally warm day, I give you 50.
And
50
why
for that
and why
day,
you at it?
For the night.
And why you at it? They play in that dome, right? And you know what I mean. You got to go to Mile High, in December. You got to come back to Jersey in December.
They're at New England December 1st.
See what I'm saying?
They're at Denver, and they're at the Giants.
And both of those teams, I mean, those teams are bad, but we're talking about the weather. And if you don't believe me, just ask Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
And I am 2-5. He is Mr. Logical. We are Sports Reports is Ordered. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love.
Thanks for the interaction. Shout out to Q.
What I'm saying? Dallas, a.k.a. Dakota Mike.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Holding down the hot box cups in the game.
Shout out to Dice Air Force Base, Texas. Abilene, y'all holding it down. Appreciate it.
And then do me a favor, y'all. Do me a favor. In addition to Sports Reports is Ordered, make sure y'all are checking out Cups in the Gang. You know what I'm saying? On Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday at 7 Eastern on Facebook Live and Instagram, YouTube. And then check out The Pursuit of Forever, hosted by El Residente, Rajon Lewis, and his wife, Toya, every other Wednesday at 6:30.
All right. Mike is the podcast guy. He's making a connection with the podcast. I'm in the merch guy. So shout out to Dirty Geek Apparel. Shout out to Javaris Ray, Dirty Geek Apparel. It's going to be in the link in the description. Also, shout out to my main man, Andre Morgan, and his wife, Jennifer, celebrating a renewal this weekend in Cancun. That's why we're doing this show on Wednesday, because in about, a few hours, I'm going to be on the plane in Mexico to celebrate with them. Solutions Over Excuses, his clothing line. Shout out to him. The link will be in the description as well. So once again, we appreciate all support. We're rooting for everybody that's trying to do their thing.
And support our rugby star.
If you have something going on, connect with us. Share it. Share your podcast. Share your stories. Come on and talk to us. We love the interaction. Me and Mike talk all the time, so I already know certain words he's going to say. Like I knew he was going to say the word elk. So elk. So I knew it was coming. You can see, if you play the video back, you can see me out there because we talk all the time. So the interaction is great. Shout out to my man Q. I mean, we got the group chat going. We got the group chat pop. We got to get everybody in the group chat to chime in on time. So once again, thanks everybody for your participation. We went a little long on this episode, but this division is one of the darlings of the league. I haven't counted, but I imagine that they probably have a lot of primetime games because people are really inundated with what's going to happen with this division. young quarterback, young coaches. We need new blood in the NFL and in sports in general. And I think this is like the groundwork for that. So, like I said, appreciate all
Yes,
support.
sir.
But shout out Dirty
So,
Geek Apparel, Javaris Ray, Andre Morgan, salute you over excuses.
so if you haven't liked, review, subscribe, share, spread it around, tell Granny about it. Don't make me go get that throwback that'll make her glance. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, the Olympics are here. I know a lot of y'all like to watch that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Like,
I love the Olympics.
good for you.
I
You know
love
what
it.
I'm saying? Good for you.
This is why we have a show. We
I'm
don't agree on most things.
I'm gonna watch our rugby friend.
Shout out to Lamar, women's rugby,
You know what I'm
rugby
saying?
sevens. Let's go.
And that's about it. So, you know what I'm saying? But we will be back next week, you know, Monday, and back on our regularly scheduled program on Thursday. Do all the free things, represent, be blessed out there. Sports Reports is ordered. Out. And we love you. Peace.